Hi, everyone. I'm Mary Demery, and I'm a fundraising consultant with Wright Collective. It is an honor for us to work with Birth Center Equity as their fundraising consultants. As part of our work together, we are helping Birth Center Equity to host a series of invitational and educational field briefings about how to grow birth centers and how community birth centers are also community anchors that can lead to economic development and economic justice. As part of our work together, we also support on grant writing and donor communications. It is my honor to be here today with Leseliey Welch, co-founder and CEO of Birth Center Equity, and Jess Gutfreund, Chief Implementation Officer at Birth Center Equity. Leseliey, I'd love if you could tell us a little bit about the work Birth Center Equity does.
Thank you so much, Mary.
Mhm.
Our vision at Birth Center Equity is a world where midwives, families, and communities thrive. I invite our audience to consider and think about birth in a way they may have not envisioned it before, and that is to imagine a world where birth is safe, sacred, loving, and celebrated for everyone. Imagine giving birth with midwives in a community birth center designed in response to the hopes, dreams, and needs of the communities it calls home. At BCE, we invest in Black, Indigenous, and people of color-led birth centers with a mission to grow and sustain community birth infrastructure for generations to come. Today, there are approximately 400 birth centers across the United States. And of that 400 birth centers, less than 5% are owned or led by Black, Indigenous people of color. This is a problem because the benefits of midwifery-led care in birth centers are well documented and vast. And those benefits include improved birth outcomes, all the outcomes we say we care about: less preterm birth, less low birth weight, higher rates of breastfeeding, greater family engagement, greater autonomy and respect, enhanced birth experiences, greater family satisfaction, and all in a more cost-effective way in our health systems. And so, we firmly believe that birth centers are part and parcel of improving maternal health and perinatal health in the United States, and that all people deserve access to all safe birth options, including community birth centers. We are a relationship and values-based network. And so right now we are a network of approximately 40 Black, Indigenous, and people of color birth center leaders. And our values at BCE are safety, abundance, and liberation. Safety, that we all deserve access to all safe birth options. We all deserve a safe environment to grow and develop as leaders. Abundance, the flow of resources and relationships brings us everything we need to create in abundance the structures we need for our health and our well-being. And liberation, to lead in our own care, is an act of liberation. And so we work together to leverage our collective strength and visibility as a network to access resources to grow and sustain our work and create care infrastructure in our communities. So we assess our priorities and needs, and we share them in such a way that would get the attention of funders who may not fund one birth center, but will fund 40. And it has been an amazing endeavor to start this network. We have 4 areas of work. I will share about 2 and then pass to Jess. One area of work is our catalyst. We focus in our catalyst on leadership development, business development, public-private partnerships, integrated financial models, and economies of scale. So how do we bring to bear the business and population health skills that have resourced the maternal health infrastructure that we currently have to resource the infrastructure we want for the future? And so right now we have a project where we're working with a local municipality to do birth center building in their county. We are working on a business studio to handle administrative, financial, marketing, and other areas of work that midwives do not specialize in, so that midwives can have the structure and support to focus on caring for families. We're also we also aspire to growing global partnerships in this work. And on the culture side, we know that the culture of birth that we have today was created, and that we have to put some intentional effort into creating the culture of birth we want for the future. And so, two efforts that we have today include Birth Center Week. We will be celebrating the second annual Birth Center Week this year, September 14th through the 20th. Our theme is Grow Birth Centers, Grow Community. And we are also working on a narrative strategy arc for years to come. And I will pass to Jess.
Yeah, the way that BCE harnesses the power of community internally to the network of birth centers that we steward is to help amplify collective identity and power. And so that means a cross-pollination of ideas and the knowledge resources that already exist among innovators in this field. We host a number of different venues where folks are able to do that knowledge sharing, including power hours and wisdom circles, which are typically held just internally to the network so that our BIPOC leaders, those who are, for example, leading established birth centers, can share wisdom with those who are in development, and that wisdom can kind of be shared in all different directions. Right now, we're developing a technical assistance package around nonprofit birth center governance development. We see this as an area where a lot of our BIPOC-led small businesses and emerging nonprofits really need support in order to be successful in the landscape and have governance structures that don't undermine the leadership that exists inside of the organization, and instead can support those organizations to thrive and have a distribution of labor that supports the proliferation of idea and innovation into community infrastructure. Another example is a current contract that we've developed with Kinfolk Consulting, who are two midwives that run birth centers inside of the BC network, who are formulating a So You Want to Start a Birth Center workshop, helping those folks who are more in the idea and development phase to bring their ideas into fruition and benefit from the learnings of others. Our capital work is really the cornerstone of what BCE was built on in terms of the principle of increasing the flow of capitals of all kinds into the birth ecosystem. And so this includes debt capital and philanthropic dollars. And for the purposes of this conversation, focusing on the philanthropic dollars, BCE acts to bring these resources through ourselves as an entity and then distribute them amongst the over 40 BIPOC-led developing and established birth centers. Currently, we have a couple of funding streams that our distributions come from. One is called the Open Doors Initiative, which focuses mostly on folks that are at strategic capital milestones. So acquiring real estate, opening doors for new facilities or expanded facilities, and really focusing on those stages of growth where quicker capital infusions can sometimes make incredible differences in terms of the ability to move forward with other types of funding like loans and municipal or federal monies that may be available. We also have a rapid response funding stream, which is really focused on emergent needs in the landscape that are sometimes we see funders be less responsive to, right? So this could be anything from like a health event to an owner of an owner operator midwife, to folks who are, experiencing challenges because of failed reimbursement structures. On the side of insurance companies, and really beyond. So the rapid response funding allows us to be very responsive inside of the network to emergent needs that there may or may not be ready philanthropic dollars to fill. Currently, as we introduced at the top, we are doing the Grow Birth Centers briefings. So we are about to launch our first briefing in Chicago at the end of April. And then we will do 4 more over the next 13 or 14 months in key cities across the United States. And this is an offering from BCE to the philanthropy community around some framing of ideas that we think are particularly important in terms of funding grassroots and BIPOC-led projects inside of the maternal child health funding landscape, and connecting the intersections between economic justice, racial justice, and birth justice for those who are unfamiliar or maybe have had less exposure around the storytelling that we know so well from inside of our network. And then we have been really honored to be in collaboration with Elaine Welteroth on the development of her Sacred Birth Fund, which is actually about direct funding for families seeking midwifery care. So really about being able to get funds to those who are in pregnancy, who are planning to give birth, and who would benefit very much from midwifery care. We'll go to that next slide. We have an ambitious fundraising goal. So our overall fundraising goal that we've set right now is $100 million to be brought into the ecosystem in the next 10 years. We're going to do this fundraising from a variety of different spheres, and certainly no amount of fundraising feels insignificant to us. And so community giving circles are a really key place. We imagine that folks will join us in this ambitious effort to bring these critical dollars into our community care infrastructure and directly to the support of Black, Indigenous, and people of color-led birth center projects across the country. And with that, I'll pass it back to you, Mary.
Thanks so much, Jess. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how we see collective giving helping and working with birth center equity. And then if we have time, Leslie and I are going to share a couple examples about a birth center in Detroit called Birth Detroit. So as we see in current philanthropic trends, individual household donors are giving less and less. And it's the major donors, the billionaire and multimillionaire donors, who are giving more. So we love the idea of collective giving as another way to shift philanthropy to where we want it to go, to a more equitable distribution of resources. And we see it as a way to make individuals like you and me feel like our $10 or $100 or $1,000 can make a difference when we act together. And when we all give together, we can really make a significant impact. So we invite you all to think about how you might act together to support maybe one birth center or a network of birth centers. And Leslie, let's just share one example of how relationships or collective giving have helped Birth Detroit to reach its $4 million capital campaign goal. You are on mute, my friend. Here we go.
Thank you, Mary. I have started to call Birth Detroit the birth center that love built, because I think it is a great example of resources and relationships coming together in a really beautiful way. And I know that we have had the opportunity to work very closely together on this goal. And one of the examples that we wanted to share was about our very first capital campaign meeting, and how one of our participants and leaders in this work shared feeling held and supported and well-informed, and really a part of the movement that we were building. And subsequently, that resulted in not only a large contribution personally from her, but also contributions from her family members. And it has made a tremendous difference in our efforts. And I know there are more examples I think you might want to
Yeah,
add.
I'll close us out with one more, and then I know Jess is telling us, hey, we're at time. So the last example, I actually have a prop for this one. We have a fabulous marketing director who came up with this idea to sell birth center t-shirts. So we sold these t-shirts, This Tea Builds Black Birth Centers, and we sold them for maybe $45 a pop. And our goal was to get as many community members as possible to purchase one of these t-shirts. And in fact, almost $25,000 worth of t-shirts were sold. And that actually helped us buy the land for our birth center in Detroit. And we are at time. So I just want to close with gratitude for you all for hosting or letting us have this lightning talk. And we look forward to asking or answering any questions you might have. So feel free to reach out to us. We'll put our contact information in the slides. Thank you.
Thank you so much.